You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
Hey Ramblers, today's episode is brought to you by Fangoria. Since 1979, Fangoria has been the authority in the world of contemporary horror. As the only sanctuary for horror aficionados in its early days, it has now grown into an empire that expands beyond its celebrated magazine. From t-shirts, coffee mugs, beanies, enamel pins, there's something for every horror fanatic in your world, even if it's you. So head on over to shop.fangoria.com/pencil and paper productions or use code pencil and paper productions at checkout to get 20% off your first order or magazine subscription. Yes, it is a mouthful, which is why there are links in the show notes down below. That's shop.fangoria.com/pencil and paper productions or code pencil and paper productions at checkout for 20% off. Fangoria, first in fright since 1979.
Buy it or we'll tear your soul apart.
You're listening to the Horror Ramblings podcast, the show about all things horror. We hope you enjoy the show.
You're listening to the Horror Ramblings podcast, the show that is all about holiday horror. This year, we are offering a great deal in which we will come to your house and stuff rat guts in your kids' stockings if they're naughty. Give us a call at 555-5555. If anybody believes that's real, I'm sorry, but that would be a great thing to do to naughty children. How are you today, Steven? I'm just going to jump right in. How you doing today,
Doing all
man?
right. I'm glad I'm not a naughty kid. I wouldn't want to wake up to that.
It would be funny, though, in the morning for little Timmy or little Susie, or I don't know why I'm saying generic names. Apple, Dell, weird names for kids these days. Little Adolf,
of course,
reaching into his
bastard.
stocking, going, "Why is this so goopy?" It'd be pretty good. Just gonna
I think so.
there.
If
Oh man,
anyone's got a problem with us making fun of Adolf Hitler, you can go to hell.
one of my favorite comedians, Craig Ferguson, he said there's two groups of people in the world that you can make fun of. First group is Nazis, because who the fuck cares if you make fun of a Nazis? You know, if you offend them, who cares? They're fucking Nazis. And then the second one is surprising. Canadians. And the reason you can make fun at Canadians is because Canadians just understand it's a joke. They're just happy to be included. And by all means, I am not comparing Nazis and Canadians, just so everybody knows. Canadians are wonderful people.
Even though there was that controversy here recently in Canada that involved a Nazi.
Could you imagine? I wonder what that would look like. A Nazi
Nazis?
Canadian?
I don't know.
Oh, man. Like, they do horrible things, but then they'd be like, sorry. Oh, man, I think I just got our show canceled.
Hey, if Leah's laughing, it's fine. She's our litmus
That's right.
test.
We'll see what she has to say. Here's the thing. If she's listening and she thinks it's funny, I think it would be great if she just randomly posted on, I'm just going to call it Twitter. Fuck calling it X. But it would be so hilarious to just get on there one morning and see in all caps just Canadian Nazis. Not saying she has to do that, but
We'll have to
but
keep
that
our
would be
eyes
hilarious.
open. or if she was offended, she could just be like, you know what, guys, fuck you.
Yeah. And you know, that's one thing I respect about her. I feel like she would just do that. She would just put it right out there. I just realized that I have my light on in the background, and it's probably like a strobe party. I don't know if you're seeing that in the background. It's kind of distracting.
I am.
To all the viewers out there, I have a light bar on my TV. I'm that guy, and it's going nuts right now. So we're gonna fix that real quick while we're I'm gonna ask you about something, but before I ask you about that, because you already know what I'm gonna ask you about. Let's do some news. I'm sure you have some interesting news that you would like to grace us with, because you always seem to have the best news to tell us about.
I've got a few little tidbits, and there's one I really want to talk about, but I think I'm going to save it for last because I know that's going to be a conversation piece. Everything else I feel like we can just kind of graze over briefly. But pretty much announcements, and then one thing I just kind of wanted to bring up I'll start with that, I guess, is actress Frances Sternhagen passed away at 93. People might remember her from Misery or The Mist as far as horror movies are concerned, but she's been in so many other movies. Fantastic actress. I loved her in Misery. And, 93, that's a good run. So, hate to hear it, but she lived a life and she was amazing. So sad to see her go. But I can't even think of anything she's acted in recently, so she may have retired some time ago anyway. But 101 Films is releasing a 4K release of the movie Alligator, along with, which comes in a set with Alligator 2 on Blu-ray. I guess they didn't feel the need to put Alligator 2 on 4K, but that's fine. And if you thought this was the first release of that, I'm almost positive Shout Factory released Alligator on 4K recently. So they're just doing their own, because we've been talking about that here recently, where Shout's doing one thing and then another one will come back in and they'll be like, oh, we've got one too. So I guess there are no exclusivity rights to Shout for a lot of this stuff, which I find interesting. So if you'd prefer that one, I don't know if they're going to have a different version of the 4K, because I know they like to all go back to the original prints and whatnot and make it all pretty. But Alligator's a fun movie. If you've never seen it, I think it's a nice creature feature. Probably not in the higher echelon of creature features, but it's a fun ride.
Creature features need to be, they just need to be fun. That's as far as I think, anyway.
Now, this one might catch your attention, because I know you've talked about these, and I have yet to watch either. But director Mick G, which is the dumbest fucking name. I hate it. I'm sorry. I really do. Just get a professional name, man. Mick G is so dumb. But anyway, he is hoping to finish his horror trilogy of The Babysitter. So he's looking to make the third and final entry into the Babysitter franchise.
I'm excited about that, but I'm also taking it with a grain of salt, because the way they tied the second one into the first one, they could end it there. And it would be perfect, because there's sort of a twist that you see in it that really makes you rethink the characters. Not all of the characters, but one character, because they did a great job in the film of making you fall in love with the babysitter herself. I can't think of the actress, and I think she's absolutely gorgeous.
Her dad is the Red Skull. Come on now, Samara Weaving. Bye-bye.
She's gorgeous. And in this movie, they kind of, the boy she's babysitting is in love with her, and I can't say that I blame him. Mm-hmm. You think of her in one light in the first film, and then by the end of the second film, you're looking at her completely different. And it's a good thing, and I love that they did it the way that they did it. So unless they have some really interesting twist or some weird one-off, something happens to bring certain characters back and cause problems and everything, I don't know. I'm excited, but I'm also a little hesitant with this one. I can't wait till you watch those, because I want to talk about those with you so bad.
I need to get around to them, along with a lot of other things that just seem to be popping up. But that will be one of many things, because here are two other projects that I'm excited for. One is the sequel to The Black Phone. Apparently the entire cast will return. So we'll get Ethan Hawke back. We'll get the kids, whose names I don't know off the top of my head, but were really good actors. I think we gave them praise when we talked about it once before. But yeah, I'm excited. I liked The Black Phone. I thought it was a great movie, and I'm interested to see how you could continue this, because didn't they kill Ethan Hawke?
I thought they did, unless so
did I.
Unless they can either go with he somehow survived, or turn it into more of now Ethan Hawke is some sort of supernatural type.
That could be
deal.
How they bring him back. Yeah, I never thought about that.
Him with the mask on as a spirit or something. I could get behind that.
But you can't make him the killer, I don't think, if he's a spirit. Now, I know that some people would disagree, but I feel like then that does a disservice to the movie as a whole, or the series, because that was what was so gripping about the original, is how you did have this supernatural element to it, but you could look at it from a different perspective, that maybe it was in the kid's head or something like that.
I have a thought. So,
Okay.
Ethan Hawke's character is dead, and a family moves into the house that all the bad things happened in because they got it for a great deal, right? And
Sure.
Ethan Hawke's spirit begins to tear away at, let's say, the father in this house. And the father starts to go nuts, starts to, contemplate murdering his family or, something to that extent. And then the spirits of the children are also in the house, as in the original, and they help the children of the man who is beginning to fall prey to Ethan Hawke's spirit. Just a weird thing. It could work if they did it right. Not saying that's what they're going to do, but just a thought.
No, I mean, it's plausible. Whatever they're planning on doing, I'm in. I'm curious to see where it goes, and hopefully it'll be just as good as the original. But sequels can go either way depending on how you approach them. So I won't get into that, but we will talk about another sequel here soon. Several. So this I'm excited for. Like, I've already kind of been excited because I know we talked about this, I think, last time, about the Alien TV series that's coming to FX. You got Noah Hawley, who, if you're familiar with that name, Fargo is probably the big deal that he did on that network. Of course, he's done other stuff, and he did Legion. Shit. Yeah, also on FX. And Legion was a fantastic show, Marvel-based, if you didn't know. I think a lot of people might have missed that little detail, but I think that's what actually worked in its favor, is because it has comic roots, but they don't necessarily adhere to all that, and sometimes I know that can piss people off. But David is such a obscure character in Marvel Comics and X-Men lore that unless you know the comics, you're not going to be looking for those little details. And even for someone like me who is familiar with David, like the things that they did, it was just enough for me to be excited. The fact that they even brought the Shadow King to the small screen was like, oh my God. Like, I remember the Shadow King from the X-Men cartoons, So the reason I'm bringing it up is Timothy Olyphant is joined that series.
Really?
So I love him as an actor, yeah. I think he's fantastic. Anytime I see him pop up in something, I'm like, oh, I'm in.
He's joining the Alien series?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
So I'm excited for that. That just makes me even more excited.
On a random side note, it does have to do with what we're talking about, but it's sort of a side note. So I was looking up some Alien information the other day because I don't know what it was that drove me to do it, but I was just looking up some stuff about xenomorphs. I think I had seen something about the TV show, and then it made me want to look up some more. I didn't realize, and I feel stupid for this, you have your, you have your different classes of the xenomorphs. You have the queen, you have the grunts, you have the, the scavenger ones that, they're all, they're different builds and everything. I did not know there is actually a king alien. Did you know that? I looked it up after I had seen it. Apparently they've been in some of the comics and stuff. That explains a lot. Literally just, it's, how do I put it? They're bigger than the queens, and the only thing that they are built for is for combat. Okay. There's something else. If you get the chance to look them up and see what they look like, I would love to see one in live action. It would be cool if the series did something like that. Apparently these alien kings, they're only part of extremely large hives of xenomorphs. But it would be so cool to see a group of scientists or something think, oh my God, we're dealing with a queen, and then something pokes its head out and go, no, that's bigger than a queen, and just a big king xenomorph come out. But did not know that. Didn't know those were a thing. No. They are extremely badass from what I've seen of them. I know that's kind of random, but you were talking about Alien, and it made me think of it because, apparently my brain works that way today. But sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead and continue.
No, that was about all I had with that. But Timothy Olyphant, yeah, like I said, I'm all for that. Just makes me more excited for the project. This is an odd story, because I don't know who's clamoring for this, and it could be good, maybe, possibly, but I'm not quite sure Like, you're going to have to do something completely different. So it could be a good idea depending on how you approach it. But I feel like a lot of people are going to be wanting something from it that's not going to have that connection, or it's not going to be leaned in that direction. And so Adam Marcus, who people might know, I know he's done quite a few things, but most notoriously directed Jason Goes to Hell, is apparently developing a movie based around the character of Creighton Duke from Jason Goes to Hell. This could be a fun idea. Now, granted, you're going to have to age him down. It's going to have to be a period piece because he died, obviously, in Jason Goes to Hell, unless he wants to do something completely different and just be like, no, this is a whole new character. So if he's not tying it to that movie, then that might disappoint people. But I personally, if you're going to do this, explore who this guy was, because he comes out of nowhere acting like he's been hunting Jason for, decades. And we're like, who the fuck are you? I've never heard of you. And you just show up in this movie. So if there's a way to maybe tell his story without tying it back into Jason Goes to Hell, which I can already see it now. You'll end the movie with some story where he picks up something, learns about Jason, is like, I'm going to go get you. And then that, that whole foreshadowing for stupid shit that they do. I don't feel like that's necessary, but if you can tell a good story with the character, I'm all for it.
I like sometimes when movies do that, because sometimes people do find characters from films that they're like, I want to do a film strictly about this character. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That'd be like doing just off the top of my head, a Dr. Loomis standalone film. I don't know how that would work. Maybe Michael Myers wasn't his only really bad case, but that was the one that pushed him over the edge. I don't know.
If you could do, like, for someone like Loomis, and again, the fucking studio would mandate, you got to end it with him getting the file from Michael Myers, and be like, see what happened. It's leading up to that. But yeah, if you could tell a story about him early days, and you see him encounter someone kind of sort of like Michael, but you can't make him worse than Michael, but he has to be on par in some ways where he can kind of see that humanity leaving his eyes. I don't know. It would have to be something told in a very specific way that when Michael comes into his care, you can see exactly why he would react the way he does. Previous experience, and then he comes to this and he's like, oh shit, there's nothing I can do with this kid. He's gone. So it could be a good idea, but you have to do it in such a way that you're not just spending 30 minutes of the day a movie being like, look, this is where he got his trench coat. This is where he got his bald head. And
it's kind of like the whole Crystal Lake series that's coming out. And we've talked about it, and you've talked about your idea for a story about Pamela Voorhees. There's an interesting story there. You just you have to get away from the source material just enough to where it's its own thing. And I feel like that's the big challenge sometimes. And it's a lot of it's to do with the studios. It's just one of those things.
Yeah. And I'm going to dig into that a little bit later.
You know who needs their own movie?
Kind of expound upon that.
Just going to say it.
Who's that?
The guy that gets his head punched off in Jason Takes Manhattan. That guy needs his own movie.
Yeah, about his boxing career, wanting to be a boxer, all that. It's like, this is what I'm going to be. And then you just have all these little jokes throughout. It's like, don't lose your head over this.
See?
Things like that.
Oh, man.
That's what people want in a prequel. Last thing I wanted to bring up, and like I said, I saved it for a good reason, because I know this is going to be a conversation bit. Let's talk about Scream 7 and everything going on with that. Because, all right, look. Here's what I'm going to say. And if we get canceled over this, fuck all
Today's
y'all.
a day of getting canceled, so.
Yeah. I don't know what Melissa Barrera said that got her fired from that movie. I know that Spyglass Entertainment claims that she said something anti-Semitic, but I have searched through so many stories, so many different outlets, so many different sources, trying to find her specific words that would be considered anti-Semitic, and I, for the life of me, cannot find those words. Now, I did have a friend who contacted me, and we were talking about it briefly, and he said that she had said something along the lines of, quote, Jews control the media, unquote. Again, I even called him out on that because I said, I have not seen that. I don't know where you got your source, but I didn't see that. I don't know what's going on, so I'm confused by the whole thing. All I heard her say in a broad spectrum was that innocent people don't need to die, in the most broadest sense of me kind of compressing her words.
So I had been looking into that because I was also wondering about it. I know she was posting, and I looked this up because I was trying to find exactly where I had found what I had seen before, because I did what you did. I looked at a bunch of different places. Here's what I have right now. It says Spyglass, the studio that produces Scream, fired her for what it says were anti-Semitic posts. She had been posting support for Palestine and criticism against the Israeli government, retaliatory violence in the wake of Hamas, I probably said that completely wrong, terrorist attacks last month. They're saying that her posts were pro-Palestinian.
And see, now this is where, this is exactly where I'm having issues, because for some reason there's nuance. This is something as a country we have seemed to have lost, is nuance in the conversation. Okay, so by saying you want to show support for Palestine, I don't necessarily think she's supporting Hamas. When the Hamas attacks happened, I understand that Hamas, and I know political, goddammit, I understand, people pointed out, well, Hamas, the Palestinian people voted them in and they put them into power. They did, decade or so ago, and they never left. So that would have been like the fears people had in this country, where a certain president was looking to maybe possibly get reelected a third term or a fourth term. Things that we have already set as our rules, 2 terms for one man, ever, period, done, end of sentence. They said, nah, we're going to stay in power. Okay, so that's not what the Palestinian people wanted. Once it happened. At the time, sure, there were promises, there were conversations. You watch all these videos and interviews with the people who are the head of Hamas, and they're like, oh, we support we're trying to build this country back. They sound genuine, like they're wanting to do right by the Palestinian people. And then they take over, and they're just like, nah, we're just gonna, do what we want, and I know that you people voted us in, but we're not going to go anywhere.
That sounds familiar.
Fuck a free election. It does. Amazing, right? The parallels are just uncanny. And now they're stuck in this situation. It's like, okay, well, how do we get out of this? Because they're not having elections. They can't get rid of them. So, yes, they created this problem. I get that. But at the same time, think about, as in this country, had this coup happened, and if you're a Donald Trump supporter, I apologize, but, facts are facts, man. If you're going to hate on us, just got to look at the red paint on the wall, man. I'm just saying. Yeah. But had that happened, there is at least half of this fucking country would be in a situation they didn't ask for, because they didn't want him to be president. Therefore, you are forcing your will onto the people who did not vote for you. That is the point of a free election, is to allow the people's voices to be heard. They do not have that option anymore. Therefore, they are stuck in this. Therefore, they are innocents who are being, punished for some shit that they aren't necessarily on board with. There may still be people in the private public who want Hamas, who support Hamas, but then there are those other people who do not. Same in this country. You have 2 parties that are 2 political spectrums, So if one is forcing their will onto other people, we're all to blame. It's not our fault. We didn't ask for this. They didn't ask for this. So when people are saying the Palestinian people need to be protected, or they don't want useless killing and violence to those people, those are the people I see her talking about. The innocent children have
Yeah.
fucking died because of this shit. And when we heard about the horrendous shit that Hamas did, I don't see how you can be in support of that. And I don't feel like she was saying, yes, I support Hamas.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. That's the nuance that's being lost, is that no one is hearing that. You just say, I support Palestine, and you hear what? You support terrorism.
Exactly. And that was my big thing about all of it. From what I read, and even from, because she responded. She posted up on, I think it was Instagram about it. She said, I have never been anti-Semitic or anything like that. And I'm not doing it justice, obviously. But, she basically said she's always just wanted to express her view on the fact that every human deserves to have rights and everything else. And as far as I'm concerned, I think the studio, I don't know if they had maybe some other reasons why they were trying to get rid of her. This could have been their excuse, or maybe the studio thought, oh, well, it's not really all that anti-Semitic or anything like that, but, somebody might start making a big deal about it. And cancel culture is so freaking toxic that the studios are afraid. Look at the whole Johnny Depp thing. There were just allegations against him. It wasn't proven up until, the court stuff and everything. But he got fired from everywhere. Disney fired him. Everybody fired him. And I think there were maybe like one or two businesses that stuck with him. And then, it comes out that Amber Heard is a fucking psychopath. And I don't care what anybody says. If you don't think Amber Heard's a psychopath, and if you don't think women can be abusers, then you have issues.
Yeah, it's a two-way street. Everything can happen on both sides.
And the other thing, too, and I'm just going to say this, and this might come off rude. Last time I checked, and I hate to say it this way because it's like a political thing, but last I knew, this was America, and we have the freedom to say whatever the hell we want to say. And as far as I'm concerned, just because someone finds something offensive doesn't mean it's offensive. Things can offend people without being offensive. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect example. There's a comedian who's been making the news, a guy named Matt Rife.
Yeah.
He made a domestic violence joke. And a lot of people were like, I don't know about that. 20 years ago, people made domestic violence jokes. It was on TV. Even when our parents, when our parents were, when our parents would watch what they used to watch on TV, what was it? Bam, zoom, right to the moon. There were jokes all the time about beating women and anti-Semitic stuff, and that was okay. And now you see people post up like, I had a moment today. I'm going to say this right now, and this has to do with what we're talking about. I put on Aladdin today because the kids wanted to watch something, and it had music and everything, and I was tired of watching Mickey Mouse for the upteenth time. So I put on Aladdin. Well, before Aladdin comes on, there is a warning. And it says, this movie represents certain classes of people in the wrong light. It was wrong then, and it's wrong now. But instead of taking it down, we're going to keep it up to set an example. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so, yeah. When you get the chance, get on Disney Plus and just click play on it, and it'll come up. I should have paused it so I could read it all. But I'm sitting there, and I have my kids around me, keep in mind, and I go, you gotta be shitting me. And my son goes, what, Dad? I was like, nothing. It's just like, everybody's so sensitive about everything. And I get it. Sometimes things are done in the wrong light. Yes, certain things that... Mulan had a lot of things in it. The original Mulan had a lot of things that some people might watch and be like, oh, man, that's a little racist looking. Or this, that, or the other, It's a kid's movie. Kids aren't seeing it as some sort of racial thing. I've never seen a kid watch Aladdin or watch Mulan and act like a different race or do something in a negative way. And it drives me crazy because cancel culture has made people afraid to either hire people. Oh, I posted about Palestine. We're not touching you because you posted about that. At least she got on and she said, look, here's what I meant. I'm sorry, I'm sorry if it got misconstrued or anything like that. Here's what I meant. And they still were like, fuck you, you're out. I kind of wish it would have been a different situation. The Matt Rife thing, he got in trouble about all that. He actually put up a website that was his apology website, quote unquote. And when you click on the website, it showed rubber helmets that people could buy in case they get slapped around. So he created another joke within his joke. He stopped giving a shit. And I'm fine with that. Like, do I think domestic violence is right? No. by no means do I think something like that's right. Do I think it's funny when people make stupid jokes about things? Yes. I'm from a generation that loves potty humor and racial humor and things like that because we all know it's not real. There are people out there who are really racist and things like that. And yes, that's wrong, but I'm not going to not laugh at something that might be offensive to someone. That's the point. It's supposed to shock you and be funny. And, you know, I hate that they fired her and, you know, Jenna Ortega left.
Yeah.
And
now, granted, through a lot of the news stories, we're trying to tie that to her leaving. But as we've kind of pointed out, or we've learned, because I thought the same thing too. I thought the very first story I read is like, Jenna Ortega, she left because Melissa Barrera got fired. And I was like, good. But then they were like, no, it was actually because of scheduling conflicts. And then now it's even come out that it was over pay. So I don't know what the truth is. I would kind of hope that she would have walked away regardless to stand in support of her friend. But
I think the studio was trying to save its ass, honestly. I think she did leave because of what happened. And I think the studio's trying to go, oh no, it was because of this, or it was because of this. It wasn't our fault. It was, you know, something else. Yeah. I don't buy that. I really don't. And Jenna Ortega to me seems like the kind of person who really stands her ground on things. It's just like with the Wednesday show, they said she was kind of a pain in the ass, but it was because she didn't want the character to be, she sort of, how do I put it? She did to Wednesday what Henry Cavill did to The Witcher. She knew the source material and she wanted to keep it how it needed to be.
You take away what makes that character so special, the thing that people love about Wednesday, and if you bastardize that, because there were a few little deviations in the show for sure, and it seems a little odd. So when you deviate too much from the source material and who these people are, regardless of saying, oh, well, it's a little bit later in their life and they're changing and what, yada, yada, doesn't matter. They still are who these characters are, and you have to respect that. You change it and they're not that character anymore. So, yeah, I applaud her for standing her ground.
Most definitely. But no, I've been hearing that they're trying to bring Neve Campbell back,
which I hope she will tell them.
They're trying to bring back all these people, and I'm like, first off, you guys didn't pay her what she deserved for the last Scream. That's why she wasn't in it, and now there's all this other drama. So I hope she tells you guys to. As bad as it sounds, I think it's time to let the Scream franchise die for a little while.
Yeah, and I think I hate it more for Christopher Landon right now, because this was a job he seemed excited about. I was excited to see what he would do with the franchise, and now I don't think it's going to be what he originally envisioned. So if we hear at some point that he walks away from this project, I'm not going to be surprised. And
I'm pretty sure I saw an article where he said that he wasn't even notified that she got fired. Like, he had no say in any of it. The studio was just like, nope, she's fired. And they didn't ask him about it. They didn't talk to him about it. They didn't do anything. They just went, nope. And to me, that's even more fucked up.
Yeah, because now you're screwing over any kind of creative control that the director had, because he was probably banking on her being in the movie, Jenna Ortega being in the movie. So now he's got to scramble and figure out what the fuck he's going to do with this movie, because he doesn't know what it's going to be anymore, because your two leads are now gone. So you've started this whole story franchise with these two new lead characters, and you've now scuttled them off because you can't pay them what they're worth, or you can't schedule around them, or you're offended because something you could not take with nuance offends you and you read it wrong. I mean, again, if I'm wrong, if someone can point me to the anti-Semitic comments, I will be glad to read them and reassess. But until then, I just heard someone calling for the end of senseless violence to innocent people, regardless of what fucking side they are on. You have innocence in every fucking war, and that's what she does not want. Does she want Hamas to be fallen down and obliterated? I'm sure. You know, fuck those guys. All the shit that they did, the torture, the things that we heard, fuck them. 100%. But the innocent Palestinian people, the same with the innocent Israeli people. I'll even say that. They are getting fucked in this too, because they're in the war. All the innocents on both sides, because of two individual sides that are angry about what? Their religion. Go fucking figure. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. And, you know, you want to cancel me? Fine. Fuck it. I don't care, because who the fuck, who am I? I don't, you know, my words aren't going to matter.
I'll even go a step further. I saw people get pissed off about the war with Ukraine and Russia. Some people were, you know, talking about the Russians and how they felt bad for the Russian soldiers, and people were up in arms about it. But you find out that a lot of those Russian soldiers didn't want to follow orders. Yeah. They didn't want to do what they were doing. You know, there's more to it than people understand, and that's the problem, and that's why cancel culture is so dangerous. Mm-hmm. Because
I actually have a friend in Russia, and when all this shit started, I started to worry about him, because I didn't know if he was going to get drafted in, because I heard a lot of that stuff. They were just going to start drafting people, and we've had that conversation before in the past where, you know, he talked about his grandfather who served in, you know, some of the older wars and stuff like that. And I could appreciate it from his side, you know what I mean? Because while our countries may not be on the same side half the time, you know, we're always in conflict with one another, we can see our similarities. We know what we love. We have common interests. And I said something about the post that he made about his grandfather. And, you know, he even came to me on a personal message. He's like, you know what? He said, I saw what you said about my grandfather, that you liked the post and everything. So that meant a lot to me. So, you know, fuck our politics. Yeah. He's like, we're better than that. And I was like, yeah, we are. Because we don't need that to define who we are. We are two individuals who have common interests, and we can be friends. Our politics mean fuck all.
And that's the problem. Is people have gotten away from that. People have forgotten that at the end of the day we're all human. So man, we're getting real deep on this show.
Yeah. Sorry, but I just, you know, there's a lot that needed to be said about that.
I don't know. Like I said, I kind of hope Scream just dies for now, and it bothers me and it bums me out, because I was really liking the direction they were going. I was liking what was happening, and now we've gotten robbed of it because of fucking studios.
They're going to continue to run shit in the ground. I mean, hey, did you hear what Mr. David, I run Warner Brothers into the ground, Zaslav said this week? What was it? It took courage to cancel those movies. It took courage.
Those movies that were pretty much done so they could get a tax write-off? Yeah.
Yeah.
Real courage.
It took a lot of courage to
robbing those people.
Those.
I mean, I know those people probably got paid partially for the movies they did, but actors and performers and writers, they don't just do it for the money. They do it because they want to put a story out there. They want people to see it, and you're robbing people from seeing that. See that? Yeah. And you know, the worst thing is other studios could purchase the rights to those films and release them.
Some have. We have seen a few filter over to Amazon. I know that they got some Batman Christmas special, which was like a little animated thing. They got that. They got a Urkel Saves Christmas.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which, hey, applause. I'm glad Urkel got out of it, because of all characters that I was surprised by, you'd think Scooby-Doo would have gotten out of that. But that was one of the ones on the chopping block. And from my understanding, it was pretty much
I want to see the Coyote versus Acme. I want to see that. And
kudos for them getting that out.
And I really want to see the Batgirl movie.
I would too.
And you know, I've read, because some people were able to actually get some private screenings to these movies before they released, and apparently the is it Acme versus Coyote, or is it Coyote versus Acme? Okay, yeah. I had it right then. I read somebody's review of it who got to do a private screening of it, and they said it made them feel like they were watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that it was classic Looney Tunes. It was great in that aspect. It made you think of the classic Looney Tunes, but they said at the end of the movie, you're actually misty-eyed because of the way that certain things in the movie play out. And I'm sorry, but Who Framed Roger Rabbit's one of my favorite movies from my childhood, and anything that's in the same vein as that needs to be seen.
Yeah. No, it was, I mean, just the concept alone sounds amazing. Like, yes, that is a movie idea. Why not let the Coyote sue the company that has fucked him over?
And you know, all these years, when I found out that was the whole plot, I thought about it. I was like, you know, I remember watching Looney Tunes and saying that, like, man, he needs to go somewhere else to get his stuff, because this is ridiculous. It's just, fuck that guy for what he's done. Like,
Yeah,
just
I can't wait until he's out on his ass, because he is like, there's a, every time I think of Max and Warner Brothers now, it doesn't shine as brightly as it used to. Like, there's just something about it that just feels off, and I don't like it. It bothers me to no end. So whenever he's gone and they can get someone in there who actually respects the IP that they have and is not just looking to make a tax write-off here and there. Because that was even the other thing that just aggravated me, is there was some documentary series they did on Max. It was like the full 100 years of Warner Brothers, so it was like chopped up in 4 chunks, covering certain decades. And of course he was in it, and he was like, yeah, this company has just such a long legacy of just these amazing characters and stories, and I just love it so much. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. It's
a piggy bank. That's all it is. And the problem with it is he's allowing, not to be this guy, but he's allowing movies that are subpar to be put out. You know, Warner Brother films just aren't like you said, you know, it's lost that magic. And a lot of the movies, they've lost that magic. They're pumping stuff out as quick as they can to try to turn a profit, and it's not working. So now they're having to sell things off. And, you know, there was a time, you know, New Line Cinema was its own studio at one point in time. You know, they gave us Lord of the Rings, which is one of the highest grossing film trilogies of all time. Yeah. You know, they gave me Freddy. I'll put that out there. They gave us a ton of fantastic films. You know, then they fell. Golden Compass did not do well. The studio ended up getting bought out by Warner Brothers. And as weird as it sounds, when that happened, when that first happened, my first thought wasn't, oh shit. My first thought was, at least they're in good hands still. Now, I don't feel that way.
No.
And that's bad. You know, that's horrible. And I don't want Disney to own them. I really don't want Disney to own Warner Brothers. Disney owns everything. I feel like it's like a big war that's happening, and Warner Brothers is the last line of defense. I just see a bunch of soldiers with Mickey Mouse helmets on, and they're trying to get to Warner Brothers Studios, and there's a bunch of Bugs Bunny ears just in the trenches, and they're firing at them. It's this, that'd be an epic video. Anyways.
Oh yeah.
I'm worried about Warner Brothers, and I hope that they make a lot of changes, and I hope they figure out a way to get these movies put out, because they deserve to be watched. They deserve to be enjoyed. And it's just, it's ridiculous.
If that man winds up selling the company before he's out, then that just goes to further my point. He didn't give a shit about that company and its legacy. He just was looking to make a buck, and he did. And he fucked so many things in the process. So that's all the news I got. But did you have something you wanted to?
Well, you know, we've talked about all this craziness, and I know I know your face is going to just brighten up as soon as I ask you about this. Why don't you tell me about Godzilla Minus One? I want to know all about it.
Well, how detailed do you want me to get? Because I don't want to be too spoilery for anybody, but I can give you the
look
basics.
at it this way. I will let you tell me every and anything you want to tell me about it, because as far as I'm concerned, if we don't get to the main topic that we were going to talk about today, that's fine by me, because I'm always good with some great Godzilla content, and I've been seeing great news, great things about Godzilla Minus One. I was going to wait to see it. I'll be honest, I was going to wait because I don't think I'm going to have the time to go see it, but I feel like I'm going to make some time to possibly go see it, because I've heard so many good things. I know that you've seen it. I know that you love Godzilla. So yeah, any and everything you want to tell me, go ahead.
Well, I mean, so where to begin? Obviously with Godzilla, this would technically only be my fourth time, seeing the Japanese Godzilla on the big screen. Okay, because we didn't get a lot of those over here, and they're few and far between. Now, I know that they have re-released some here recently, fandom events and whatnot. I'm kind of wishy-washy about that stuff sometimes, where I go to see a movie that I own in theaters, because I've seen, like, even before we watched that, there were fandom event offerings. They were just like, hey, come watch A Christmas Story, or come watch The Grinch. And I'm just like, I can do that at home. You know, I get the appeal of seeing these movies on the big screen, but something like Dawn of the Dead, okay, that was one, we got to see it in 3D. That was new.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still getting to see a movie I know, but then they said, but we're putting it in 3D. Sure, I'm all for it. But with this, obviously, I was excited from the moment they announced it because I'm like, yes, we're getting another Godzilla, you know, Japanese Godzilla movie. Not that I have any problem with the American versions. I appreciate what they're doing, but I think what I'm appreciating, what seems to be Japan's goal going forward, is telling Godzilla stories, but maybe not in a connected manner. Just what can we do? Like, what if Godzilla this, or what if Godzilla that? And pretty much creating what if stories.
One of the reviews I heard, just real quick, said something about this was almost like a retelling of the beginning of Godzilla's story. Is that sort of like that?
I mean, to be honest
with
you, as I watched the film, there were very many, maybe not many, there were quite a few parallels to the original film. Like, even certain shots that they did, I could see, I was like, oh, that's kind of like that from the original film. Oh, that's kind of like that from the original film. So, in a way, yes, but also in a way, it can stand on its own 2 feet, which I appreciate. So it's almost like it pays homage to certain scenes from the original. For example, like, if you are a Godzilla fan, if you are like deep into the lore, before I even go any further, let me talk about that. I got so pissed. I don't know if I've mentioned this guy that aggravates me at work who just makes noise and just eats all day and shit. But I walked in from just being out of the room for a moment, walked back into the office, and then he's talking to a guy about Godzilla and the Godzilla movies that he needs to start watching first. Like, if he's going to be introduced into Godzilla, he says, the first one you got to watch Godzilla Final Wars. And I was just like, what? Now, I don't hate Final Wars. In fact, I'll say this on record. I don't hate one Godzilla film. Not a one. But to suggest that be the first one that you subject someone to, I was like, no, absolutely not. That's not, no, you're going to scare him off because he's not going to know what the fuck is going on. That's one of those that you get as like a bonus. Yeah. You know, you have to absorb all the other movies to then appreciate that one. That's at least my opinion on it. But yeah, God, I wanted to punch him in the mouth so hard. Anyway, but yeah, if you are a deep, hardcore Godzilla fan, there are going to be those little moments in there that you can appreciate. So, for example, at the very beginning of the movie, you see an airplane kind of floating by and he's heading toward an island, and then they tell you the name of the island, which is Odo Island. Odo Island is a fictional island that was the home, if you will, of Godzilla in the original film. Like, the inhabitants of Odo Island would always talk about, you know, the legend of Godzilla, and he's this, you know, serpent that just lives under the oceans, and we pray all the time to, you know, keep him at bay, and they even talk about offering up sacrifices to Godzilla and all this other stuff. So they're starting right there, and that's the first time we get to see Godzilla. And even in that, too, now keep this also in mind, where they're talking about it being a retelling in some ways, the difference being is that the original film took place in 1954, whereas this one is starts in 1944. So, I mean, we're talking about like right before the bomb hit Tokyo, so we're not quite there yet, but this is toward the end of World War II. And one of our main characters, whose name, I probably could dig it up, but the main guy that we're going to look at, you know what, I'm going to look his name up so I don't just call him that guy, and I'll try to do my best with my Japanese, but he's the guy in the plane, and he's coming down, and if you pay close attention to, not to say that you need to know all these little details, but you can kind of infer real quick when you look at his plane, he's got a bomb up under it, that he was a kamikaze pilot. Now, granted, they do actually go into detail, like that becomes a focal point of the movie for that character. I'm just going to call him Koichi. That's his first name. They call him Shikishima throughout most of the movie because that's just how Japanese, but I'm going to call him Koichi. So Koichi is the guy in the airplane who's the kamikaze pilot, and he lands there because Odo Island is like this base for kamikaze plane repairs. So he lands there. They go, the guys that are there, they go to inspect his plane, and they realize there's nothing wrong with the plane. So pretty much put two and two together, and Koichi is a deserter. Like, he just does not want to kill himself for the country. And you have to also understand what that meant in Japan at the time. It was considered heroic. It was considered an honor to be a kamikaze pilot, to sacrifice your life for all that. And this is what the crux of the entire movie really hinges on, is this idea of this man going through these terrible tragedies and really trying to overcome that. Because, I mean, I've never seen anyone portrayed with PTSD in a Godzilla film. Not that I can recall. And that's what he's dealing with, because he abandoned his post and what he was supposed to do. So he's dealing with that stress, that shame, if you will. Then on Odo Island, Gojira appears, but he's not the one that we see or the one that we know. This is like pre-mutated Gojira. So we get to see kind of a pre-Gojira. And that also kind of reminded me of, if you've seen Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah from 1991, there was a scene where they went back in time because they were saying, well, if we can remove Godzilla from that point in time where he became Godzilla, then, we just remove the body and he'll never turn into the beast that we know, and he won't destroy Japan, yada, yada, yada. That was the whole crux behind that, a time travel story, getting rid of him. So in that movie, you get to see a pre-Godzilla, or Godzillasaurus, if you will. They didn't specify that's what he was in this. They just said that they used that legend that I kind of mentioned. Like the people of Odo Island said, oh yes, he's like their god. He just lurks upon the ocean, and they pray to him, give sacrifices, yada yada. So they reinterpret that, but you actually see it.
So real quick, was the pre-mutated Godzilla in this movie? Was he still big?
He would probably be maybe, all right, so think maybe like classic Kong, where he's probably about 20 feet tall, give or take, if we're talking Peter Jackson's. I would probably say he's maybe 50 meters, so maybe more akin to the 70s version of Kong, where he's kind of upright and a little, seems bigger than usual. Okay. So he's not quite the massive size of Godzilla that you're used to, but he's still
big.
Yeah, he's a big beast, but
big
not
enough to be a monster to them.
Yeah, so I would say, and see, even as I say King Kong, I feel like that's not doing it justice, because like I said, King Kong is still big, but he's bigger than Kong, but not massively bigger. You know what I mean? There's this in between. So 50 feet, maybe. I'm kind of spitballing. And what I found interesting about it is because when you look at him, he does kind of resemble the design that they were going for. But then I saw a statuette of that design. Like, I was watching this. I think I mentioned him on. Did I mention him on the show? I mentioned him on some show. There's a YouTuber that I've been watching here lately called Big Action Bill, and he does like Godzilla review videos and whatnot. And he was talking about it, and he showed like this model of that. And what I found funny is because when I looked at it, I was like, it's kind of funny because it almost resembles the 90s American version. The iguana looking, but not quite, not one for one comparison, but if you kind of look at its design, it kind of hunches over a little bit, kind of has a bit more of a reptilian, design that it's reminiscent of that. You know what I mean?
Honestly, just real quick, when I had seen this Godzilla in the trailers and everything, because I haven't seen the movie yet, obviously, but when I saw this Godzilla in the trailers and everything, and maybe it's just me, this might be weird. It really reminded me of the original Godzilla from the original movie in a lot of ways. But, and here's where this is going to sound a little weird. To me, this Godzilla is almost cat-like, if that makes sense. Just some of his facial expressions, some of his movements, it reminds me of like a cat. I know that might sound weird.
Well, actually, Katrina and I were talking about that too, because don't misunderstand me at all. when I say that there's, like, I like the design, but there's something off about it that I'm not 100% on board with,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it really has to do with the face. Like, there's something about his face that just looks off to me. And, like, again, I don't hate it. There's something about it doesn't feel right. Now, you say cat. When I go back and look at the design that this seems to be patterned off of, which would be the Heisei Godzilla from the 90s, he had a very cat-like design on his face. This one, we were trying to figure out what it looked like because it resembled that, but it didn't quite look like that. And Katrina said he looked more like a dog because if you look at the way his jawline comes out or his cheekbones, and he's almost got like a snout, like a dog would. And I was like, yeah. Because, again, if you do comparisons, the 90s one has very much a cat-like face, whereas this looks more like a dog. And she even said, and this might have been what their design concept was, is there's and I don't know the name of it, but it's almost like a lion dog in Japanese culture, lore, and stuff like that. She said it almost reminded her of that. And when she said that, I was like, oh, yeah.
Now see, that makes more sense to me because when I was thinking like cat, I was thinking more like, not like a house cat, but like a big cat where they have that snout a little bit more than a normal, cat would have. And especially when in the movie, when he like snarls and he growls and it comes up, that reminds me of almost like, like what Trina's talking about. Because I know what she's talking about. But I don't know. To me, the look was, there was something nostalgic about it, yet different about it all at the same time. At least to me, out of the two of us, you are the bigger Godzilla fan. I will say that now. I love Godzilla, but you know way more about Godzilla than I do. So, but I don't know. I liked what he looked like from what I've seen. Maybe seeing him more in the movie will make me be like,
So, as I said, the focus of the movie, at least from where I'm coming from, they really lean on the horrors of war. Okay, and I feel like this is where this movie did something almost unheard of, because one of the biggest complaints you hear in every Godzilla movie is that you don't care about the human characters. It's just like they're fodder for whatever in the background. They don't matter, what have you. I can understand that. I mean, there are, like, I've seen all of them many, many times. There are few that I could point out in a movie that I know them by name and be like, oh, that's this guy and that's that guy. Very few, because I don't feel like I've connected with them in such a way that I know their names. But in this movie, as I watched it, now granted, yes, I did have to go back and look up Koichi's name, but throughout the movie, I knew exactly who they were talking about. When I saw a name, when they said the name, I knew exactly who it was. I knew the face, I knew the name, I knew everything. I knew the characters. And sometimes if you don't feel like you're getting those connections, like you know the name and you know the character, Miki Sagusa, she is a character from the 90s. She was the only character that was in multiple Godzilla movies, okay? Any other movie, it's like few and far between do you ever see a return character. She's the only one that has been in a sequential amount of movies from this one to that one and has a story arc. So I know who she is. I connected to her because she's a character I saw, and I connected with her. So in this one, you get to know these characters. They are integral to the story. They're not secondary. They are the point. And with Koichi, like I said, he was dealing with that when Godzilla attacked Odo Island. He was put in yet another scenario. And this is, you really feel for this guy too, because you don't know what he's going through. And you try to put yourself in that situation. Now, again, he just abandoned his post to be a kamikaze pilot. He didn't want to die. Understandable, And I also love that they used that later on in the film to kind of enhance everything that they're fighting for, because it's ridiculous. And they call out that hypocrisy. Why was it such an honor to sacrifice your life? It was an act of desperation for the Japanese because they didn't do anything, or they didn't have the resources that some other, like the American military did. So it was just desperation. It's like, well, fuck it. This is what we got to do. We
Yeah.
got to do it. But you're made to feel like this is an honor. And it really wasn't. For the people that they were talking about there, it was just like, no, you fight to live. That's what we're doing. We're fighting to live. Why are we going to just kill ourselves just to kill more people? It doesn't make sense. So I appreciated that a lot. And it probably resonated a lot more in Japan than here in America. But after he's there when Godzilla attacks on Odo Island, they tell him, there are other soldiers there who are fighting and trying to shoo him off. They were like, hey, go back to your plane and just shoot him because it's got like a big gauge, like M22, I think is what they called it, gun on it. And he's like, that thing will kill it, no problem. Might have, because again, this is not Godzilla before he was radiated and turned huge. This is just like simple, smaller version of it. But again, he froze. He just couldn't do it, and they were just like, go shoot it. And he just could not bring himself to do it because as he's trying to get there, Godzilla's just wrecking shit, and he's just, you see other people dying. He's just smashing shit around. So yeah, you've got that secondary fear. It's like, fuck, here I am again. So when all these people die and he's one of the last ones standing, like him and another guy, it's just, now he's got that guilt on top of it. If I'd have acted, would it have made a difference? If I'd have gotten in that plane and shot, he could have killed me too. So this guy, this character, Koichi, he gets so bogged down with guilt and you can't help but feel for him, because I wouldn't even say it's cowardice. They even do kind of point that out because one of the first people that he runs into when he returns to Tokyo, because there's almost like a gap where you see him on a boat going back home after the Godzilla attack, and then I think that's where they kind of showed that the bomb went off, or they let you know that the first bomb went off in Tokyo. And then when he returns home, devastation all around. People are still trying to pick up, their shit. I mean, it looks unlivable, absolutely unlivable. And he runs into a woman who recognizes him. She knows him. She's like, you were a kamikaze pilot, weren't you? And you're still alive? And she starts giving him shit for it. She's like, you shame, you coward. It's like, if you had done what you were supposed to do, maybe this shit wouldn't happen. And how does he know? I mean, you can't tell me that he would be the one guy who was just going to end the entire war for his sacrifice, but you'll never know. And so now he's got that guilt on top of that. But you also sympathize with her because she lost her children. She mentions her kids that died in this bombing and everything. So she has nothing. She's all alone. So now you feel for her. You kind of are upset because she's throwing this hatred at him, but at the same time, you understand where she's coming from. So you're kind of torn. And then you eventually get to meet two other secondary characters. You see this woman who's running away from, looks like a bunch of soldiers. She runs directly into Koichi, hands him what's in her arms, and then takes off. And then he looks down, and it's a baby. God. And he's just like, like, what do I do? So he sits in this area just waiting for her to come back for hours. And then even kind of contemplates, it's like, I'm just going to leave it here. And then he walks away a few steps and he's like, no, I can't do it. So then he goes back, gets it. And then he eventually walks off into a certain direction. She bumps into him and she's like, oh, you took care of it for me, did you? And he's like, where have you been? And she's like, I've been right here the whole time. He's like, why didn't you say anything? She's like, I couldn't just go out there for them to see me. I was waiting for you to move. And I was like, I was surprised you sat there for so long. And that is one thing I'll even give this movie a lot of credit for, is the humor that they use. They use it in all the right ways because it really helps undercut a lot of the deeper, darker themes like what Koichi goes through in this entire movie, because he's really just the heart of it all because of everything he's going through. You see his struggles. And so when he talks to this woman, whose name is, and I should remember her name because it was Noriko, you find out that Noriko is kind of in the same boat. She does not have anybody. The baby she has is not hers. It's just a baby she found. So she felt the need to take care of it. So they pretty much kind of create this hodgepodge family, taking care of one another because none of them have each other. So they decide they're just going to take care of one another. And the woman who chastised Koichi earlier kind of becomes a surrogate aunt to the baby, because when she realizes they have an infant, she's like, you're going to have to do something to feed this baby. If she's not breastfeeding, you don't have any formula or anything like that, you got to figure out a way to feed this kid. So her name was Samiko, and she helps guide them on how to feed the baby until they can get what they need. Like, I have never heard of rice gruel, but that was her suggestion. So if it works, it works.
I'm already liking the feel of this, because it really shows what people can do in times of, great negativity, coming together and working on things, even when you don't necessarily see eye to eye on things.
And that was the beauty of it too. Like I said, when it comes to the human characters, because it's not just them. So as they do a little bit of a time jump as well, because you kind of see them kind of establishing themselves right about that time where, it's right after the war. You see a few months later they jump and they're trying to put together like a little hut or whatever that they've been staying in, a little house that they could call their own. Nothing much, just kind of scattered trash to kind of create some half-assed home for now, just temporarily. And you see that apparently they've still been keeping the baby alive, no problem. And eventually Koichi comes in and he's like, I found a job. And she's like, oh, great, what are you doing? And he's like, well, it's a government job, pays 3,000 yen, which is a lot if you think about it at the time. And she's like, okay, well, that almost sounds like a scam, but what are you doing? He's going and recovering mines from the waters and destroying them. Exactly why he's getting paid good money. But it's also dangerous. But he's just like, yeah, that's at least it's something. It'll put food on the table. And they have a discussion about it. And he eventually convinces her, like, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then when he goes to his job, you meet the next three people that are going to be important to his life, because they, along with, Noriko, kind of explain to him, or they show him that his life means something, that it's valuable. They almost become like his best friends, and because they all have kind of their background, they've all been affected by the war in some way. The one thing, though, that he never shares with any of them, I feel like this is where a lot of his struggles come from, because you even see it mainly with Noriko, where he stays, like, even though they live together and they've kind of created this little life together, he still kind of keeps her isolated, where he shares just what he needs to, but he also remains closed off because of his guilt about not fulfilling his destiny, if you will, or his job. And again, he feels like that's a shame. So he doesn't want to tell her that, because then that's just his shame that he's sharing with her, and then she'll be ashamed and she'll be disappointed, and that kind of whole thing. So you hang on to this terrible secret thinking that people are going to judge you. And I feel like at some point, once it all kind of comes out, you see that they are not the people that he assumes they're going to be. That they will accept him for who he is, and they're not going to shame him for not following through with something that's ridiculous, because they all feel like, no, you shouldn't. And it all kind of comes back into play, because as they all kind of get to know each other and develop these bonds of friendship and everything, his friends even call him out. Like, you see that, that after all the money he's gotten, some time has passed, they've actually built a nice little home within this wreckage. And that's another thing I'll give them a lot of credit for, is it's not like suddenly after a few years everything around where they're living is beautiful, and rebuilt. He has a nice home. There are a few other people in the area who have a nice home, but you still see a lot of the debris and wreckage off in the background. So it's still a process trying to get it cleaned up, but at least they have a nice home. And once they actually have their nice home, he's got his friends over, they're having dinner, and, they're just like, oh, you got a good wife here. And he's like, well, that's not my wife. And they're like, okay. And I mean, well, your kid's amazing, and the kid's growing up. She's about two or three at this point. And it's like, well, he's like, yeah, she's not mine either. But then the kid looks at him and says, Daddy. And then he scolds her for it, and this is where you start to get into this troubled mind of Koichi, because it's almost like he doesn't want these connections, these responsibilities. Like, again, he doesn't feel like he deserves them. So he's just like, you don't call me daddy, and she's not my wife. And he kind of gets really upset about it all. And all of his friends are just like, what's wrong with you? You know, why wouldn't you want this? I mean, she's a beautiful woman. You got a wonderful little child who seems to adore you. You know, why wouldn't you want this? And they can't wrap their heads around it because they don't know his issues. And like I said, it's these little moments like this where you see him struggle, and you see all the people around him who can't quite grasp it, because you're not mad at Koichi, you know, but like when he did kind of just scold the girl for calling him daddy, it bothered me a bit, because it was like, don't talk to that child that way, you know. I mean, she doesn't know any better, and you're the only man she's ever had around, so of course you're her father in her eyes. But again, you try to see it from his perspective, you know. Like, he has manned up and been responsible for the both of them, trying to help out, but at the same time, he keeps them at a distance. And that's something that leads into something with Noriko, where she finally decides, you know what, I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to go start my own life. And then, you know, the child, Akiko, I think was her name, she can go stay with Sumiko, which is the aunt, and you don't have to worry about it anymore, you know. So we'll get our situation set up, and we'll leave, and then you can have your life. And he's bothered by that, you know, because he doesn't want them to leave. He knows deep down in his heart that that's what he wants, but he's just so afraid to just
it's like he feels like he doesn't deserve it.
I genuinely feel like that's where a lot of that's coming from. Like, he doesn't deserve any of this. Like, what he did was unforgivable, and just he cannot. He let so many people down because he didn't do what he was expected to do as a kamikaze pilot. So, and then of course he with the Odo Island incident, feeling like he allowed all those people to die because he didn't possibly sacrifice himself, because that's exactly what would have happened. Godzilla smashed the fuck out of that plane.
So this almost could have been a drama movie without Godzilla. It could have been just a war movie. Yeah. It sounds like.
Genuinely, yeah. Because I even think the director, Takashi Yamazaki, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I heard that one of his previous films was a genuine war drama in World War II. So it's almost like he had this love for Godzilla, but had a passion for World War II, and he found a way to marry the two. And fantastic how he did it, you know, because it's just, because even I haven't even talked about Godzilla.
No,
from,
and
like,
I was
a bigger perspective, but he is important. He's not secondary to the plot. And I think that's another thing, too, that you'll notice in a lot of these. And I think this is why a lot of people will kind of point this one to being a bit more where the human characters are very well written and most important, is because if you look in some of the other plots, I know that some of them are just kind of cheesy B-movie plots with aliens and whatnot, and you're just kind of like, well, whatever. It's a little hard to connect with those characters in that way, unless you have something real and tangible that you can kind of relate to in some way. And I feel like in a lot of ways these characters are so much more relatable than so many others. Now, I'm not saying that there are none in any Godzilla movies that you can't relate to. In fact, I would say, and I'm going to use the American ones for a moment, but the original, or the 2014 Godzilla movie with Bryan Cranston, Aaron Taylor Johnson, all them, that opening scene in the power plant in Japan, where he has to watch Bryan Cranston has to watch his wife die. I mean, that's powerful. Yeah. You know, when I saw that, I was like, yes, this is the kind of stuff we need. We need these moments where you see these tragedies affecting people. And I think that's one thing that people get lost in the shuffle with the spectacle of it all, is you don't see how these events, these things really affect people and the things that they go through. And I know some have tried to show it, but I feel like this has done it on such a level that no other film has really touched. You know, so it's really amazing how much you care, because I think this is another thing too that I would say that I've never felt while watching a Godzilla film, is you worried about them in the sense that you didn't want them to die. And I guess in turn, you could also say that makes you fearful of Godzilla in that same regard, because when you see him coming and you know what he's capable of, you start to wonder, is like, shit, are people going to die here, or are people going to be okay?
It keeps it
happening?
suspenseful.
So, yeah, and that's something I don't feel like I've had in a Godzilla movie in a long time, if ever, is feeling like I don't know who's safe and who's not. It
almost makes you feel like you're there because you get connected and then you get lost in it, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's that adds so much to the overall narrative because you're not sure what's happening. And I want to talk about this one thing when it comes to Godzilla because I don't want to spoil it. I feel like this is one thing I want you to experience on your own. But so the very first time we actually get to see him, you've seen the clips where he's kind of swimming after the tugboat and whatever. The boat that they're on, that's where our core group of characters are. That's the boat that they're using to remove the mines. There's even a funny story about how this is a special boat, and I won't spoil that because that was another good joke. And then that you're like, okay, yeah, I guess I could see the how that's a special boat. But that whole chase sequence was phenomenal. And I feel like that was another thing, too, with the design there where he's kind of swimming around. That's something we've not really gotten to see with this character before. We've seen him swim underwater, sure. But there's something about this almost shark-like above the surface swimming after. It's uncanny and in all the right ways. I feel like
it makes Godzilla even more terrifying, too, because even the clips that I had seen of him swimming on the water and them trying to get away from him, watching that, I'm just thinking, my first thought was, I would definitely not want to be on that boat.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's terrifying. So, I mean, with the boat chase, one of the things that they did that I was really, or it kind of amped it up is, again, they've been hunting or looking for these mines and everything out of the boat. And at one point, they had actually gathered a few up because the whole purpose, I guess, what they were supposed to be doing is they would bring them to the surface and then shoot them from a distance.
Okay.
Just destroy them out in the ocean. But they had gathered a few up on the boat, so then those became weapons that they would use during that chase sequence. And there was a bit that was almost, as I said, reminiscent of Jaws, where one kind of got caught in his mouth. And you're just waiting for that moment. And it was in that moment where they reveal something about Godzilla that we've not really gotten to see in this capacity. Because if you take a look at a lot of other Godzilla movies, he almost seems like bulletproof. He gets shot, shit's just flying off, and it's just like, well, he just can't get hurt. Well, the way they do this, and to actually experience it, I know it'll be kind of spoilery, but to experience it will be different. They do the Jaws thing. They shoot the mine in his mouth, and it blows a chunk out of his face. But you see it regenerate. So it's playing on that idea of Godzilla being invincible or being able to regenerate these wounds so fast. So then that also becomes kind of a plot point that you see, is you'll see him getting hurt. And Katrina even kind of pointed this out too when we were watching it, or after the fact we were talking about it, is it's almost like you can see spots on his body where he had been injured and regenerated. Almost like there were changes to his makeup, or his
almost like a scarring, but not necessarily a scarring.
Yeah, very much in that same way. So even when he kind of got blasted right here, that's where they you see a little change, but nothing aggressively different. But you can kind of see
it almost makes me think that the easiest way for them to kill Godzilla, if they were trying to kill him, would be from the inside. That's actually
one of the things that becomes a plot point. They were just like, well. After seeing that, they were just like, well, okay, so from the inside, I think we could pull it off because, it should work. But it was also in this scene here. Now, they're supposed to be getting help from a bigger ship, like a big warship that's supposed to be coming in because they were contacting the Japanese government and being like, hey, he's out here, this thing. Because they're at this point, and I guess I kind of glossed over a bit, where I'd said that there were time jumps, and you saw like they went from 1944 to I think 1947 is about where it stopped, roughly. But within that time frame, if you remember, in actual history, there were the atomic testing sites on the Bikini Atoll out that way, and they did have that moment to show that's where Godzilla became Godzilla, because they showed, like, they cut to that scene being like, this is the date and time, location. You see the bomb, like the footage that we've seen 100 times over of the atomic bomb blowing up.
The first bomb that he had on his plane would have already mutated Godzilla some.
No, that was just a regular bomb.
I was just double checking.
Yeah.
Okay.
These were not nuclear bombs. So, yeah, so Godzilla was nowhere near the bombing of Tokyo and Hiroshima. Like, all that, like, he was not affected. This was during a test bomb. So, like I said, all that footage we've seen 100 times over of that bombing, that's what happened. So they kind of show you that, and then you hear his roar, like you realize he was caught in it. And I almost feel like they kind of do like a faded, you kind of see him damaged, like burning and everything. So you get the sense that he was caught up in it and being mutated from it. And then cut back, you start seeing wreckage. You know, the Japanese government's taking note of boats missing, boats being destroyed. I think you even seen in one of the trailers, like this big freighter boats kind of tipped over and damaged. That's one of the first ones that the crew come across, and they're like, holy shit, like, what did that? And they're trying to figure it out. And of course, Koichi, he's like, this is Godzilla. Absolutely.
So, just real quick, I'm sorry, but...
No, go ahead.
So, basically, Godzilla's just, living near his island in peace for the most part. Not really causing any trouble. It's not until man comes and the bomb comes that Godzilla basically becomes enraged. Is that a safe assumption?
Yeah.
Okay.
And to even, I don't even feel like they touched on like what he's doing at this point. You know, like why he's traveling outside of his comfort zone, if you will. But I would almost imagine it's because of his immense size that he's just decided, fuck it. You know, the world is moist, or I'm going to go out there and, fuck around.
How big does he get after the bomb, would you say?
Massive.
Okay.
Because, again, if you take a look at, like I kind of described him, kind of small
about like
in
50
stature.
feet, you said.
50 feet, and even, I feel like even that's kind of being generous, but using that as a great example, 50 feet. And then when he actually surfaces in the water, because, again, I mentioned like the fish, like the very first time before he showed up on Odo Island, Koichi saw fish like popping up out of the water, and he was like, what the hell? And then, of course, Godzilla pops up. So he remembers that. So when the scene while they're out on the boat starts happening, you start seeing the fish, and he's like, oh shit. Like, he knows it's coming, but they don't know where he's coming from. He's still expecting small Godzilla. But when they first see him, it's just his head, and his head is about as big as the boat, and they're just like, oh my God, just like freaking the fuck out, going, yeah, we've got to run. We can't fight that, because you see what he did to a boat, like 10 times the size of ours. What are we going to do? So yeah, they start taking off, and like I said, there was a bigger, I feel like I know the name of what kind of ship it is, but I can't for the life of me. Like a big gunner ship, it's got all the big guns and stuff on it.
Like a big old battleship type deal.
Battleship, there you go. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. But the battleship comes in and starts attacking, and, Godzilla, of course, gets at it. And it was a pretty interesting fight, too, because you can kind of see where it's doing damage to him, where it's shooting him, and he's kind of falling back and whatnot. And this is where we get our first taste of his atomic fire or his, atomic breath. And you're not sure what's going to happen, And like I said, it doesn't even do it justice to what you get to see later on. But you see the glowing blue light up under the boat, and everybody's just like, oh, what's happening? And next thing you know, light goes out, the entire ship, boom, shatters into oblivion. And you're like, holy shit. So that gives you an idea of what's happening. But as I said, that's the one thing I'm not going to expound upon is the approach they took to his atomic breath. That's a taste. When you actually get to see it, I'm sure you've seen the trailer where you see the spikes popping up out of his... I
actually thought that was extremely cool. So seeing him shoot out of his back like that.
The way they do it, it's almost like a gun. Because when you see it kind of pop out, you see him kind of taking a breath.
It's building up in there.
And then as soon as he lets it go, his spikes shut back into his back, and then it
That
releases.
is awesome.
But it's what it does that is different. in all the best ways. Because I thought in Shin Godzilla, when he obliterated Tokyo in that movie, you saw where he was just like that big ray of purple and he's just going back and forth. The next thing you know, all of it's in flames. That surprised me in such a way that I was like, I have never seen anything like that. The devastation of Godzilla's power, oh my God. And then now this movie does the same thing where I'm like, oh fuck. And I couldn't believe what I saw. But you're just like, now you're terrified of that. I have never been terrified of his atomic breath before. But now watching that and the way they portrayed it, I was like, shit. So I won't explain or describe that. Needless to say, when that starts, you're just like, oh fuck, man. I don't know what to expect. Or that's where you start to worry about the people around you. Because in that sequence, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to go about approaching this, because I don't want to spoil everything. So Koichi, like I said, his wannabe wife, we'll call her wannabe wife, Noriko, when she went to go get a job, she decided she was going to go into Ginza and get a job, or that's where she got her job. And if you're unfamiliar, I had to do a little research too, because I know of Japan, but I know that other countries are built differently. Like when we talk about states, they don't know what states are in some other countries, or, you know, there are cities here and there. But in Japan, you've got prefectures, you've got the financial districts, you've got the, shopping districts, things like that. Apparently, Ginza is a shopping district in Tokyo.
Okay.
And when we were hearing them say Ginza, it was like, aren't they in Tokyo? And again, little details I was unaware of. But for the sake of you all who might go watch this movie and you not know that, Ginza is a shopping district in Tokyo. Therefore, when she says she's there, you know where she's at. She's still in Tokyo. Because it could be a little confusing if you're like, well, I thought they were here, and now she's over here. I thought they said it was attacking Tokyo. I just clarified it for you. But while she's there working, that's where we get our first official Godzilla attack. I'm sure you've seen it in a lot of the promotional materials, the train bit where, you know, he's just smashing through and everything. And even that, I don't really know what they were trying to convey with him, because he just came in and he was just smashing shit, you know, just looking around, smash, attack. And like he just did, I don't know, it didn't have a really rhyme or reason to what he was doing. He just doing shit and it was,
I almost wonder if the bomb going off, if it didn't just enrage him, like he's adjusting to all that, like there's all that energy within him. Maybe he's adjusting to it, if that makes sense, and just attacking because he's, you know, he's almost like maybe in this he's almost sort of like a confused, enraged animal. He doesn't know where to go. He's trying to find somewhere that he can be in peace, and there's all this stuff, and he's just busting through it. Not saying that is what it is, but
there's something to it. Like you can't quite figure out what his plan is, what his goal is, if he has any. He just seems like a mindless monster who's just walking through, smashing shit, and he's back on his.
That makes it kind of scary, because you're like, why is this thing even doing this? And if you don't, if you don't have that rhyme or reason, sometimes that, you know, it's this monster's just doing it because it can. Like that's terrifying.
Sure.
Now,
and
go ahead.
Another thing that they did too, as far as his design. Now, granted, they did full CG like they did in Shin, and I liked one little detail that they kind of added to it. Like you see him in the water, he's like a beast, you know, like he can move. He's just like meant for water. You know what I mean? Like that's what his whole design was about. Meant for water. That's how he navigates. That's how he gets around. That's what he's built for. When he comes to land, he's much slower. Yeah. Like they actively made him slower. So where you see him kind of taking those steps. Now, granted, you've seen the design. He's got the big chunky legs, and then he kind of thins out toward the top. So it's almost like they were playing with that idea that he's still struggling to adjust to the weight of his legs. So he takes these very slow, calculated steps, like he's just trying to keep his balance. He can be quick, like if he's attacking something like planes or anything that flying through his head, like he can be quick and he can swat at them. But it's like walking takes some effort.
And I can appreciate that, because from a scientific standpoint, they've actually they've explained it before. Godzilla at his full size isn't actually something that could exist on land. Like he would collapse under his own weight. His bones would have to be so large, and like it's a very big impossibility. It's very improbable that Godzilla could exist. So the fact that they sort of show, he's more of a sea creature, he's better there than he is on land, I can give them props for that. And I wanted to mention the CGI just real quick. And I know you've seen, I'm just going off of clips that I've seen and everything, but I don't know what it is about Japan's CGI. It has this very natural, lifelike feel to where it almost makes you think, at least to me, there were certain parts during the trailer where it almost seemed like it was someone in a suit. Yeah, and I appreciated that. It didn't take away from the movie. I think it added to the movie.
The sequence in the water for sure is probably one of the best animated sequences as far as the CG goes, because when you're looking at it, there are times, like you said, it feels tangible. It looks tangible, like you could really reach out and touch this, almost like they were using a model or maybe a man in a suit or something like that. But to my understanding, it was all CG. So if you can pull that off, that's
You
want
to know what's extremely impressive about this movie? I looked this up the other day because somebody was talking about this movie's budget. The budget for this movie, in I'm going to do this in US dollars, $15 million. That's it.
That's awesome.
They have proven that you can make a kick-ass Godzilla movie for a budget that most studios would be like, that's impossible.
But the difference here is I'm sure Toho took their time to ensure that everything was done correctly, as opposed to being like, well, we got to have this movie out now. We got to get it out today or, in the next couple of months. And if you're not done with the CG, we're just going to have to botch it and just be like, hell with it. But, we just got to get it out now. We know how American studios are. So
now, go ahead.
No, I was just going to continue with the story.
Go ahead. I'll get to my stuff because I have a few things to ask you.
Well, like I said, his first big attack was in Ginza, and this is also about the time, and you may have seen it in some of the trailers, because once it happened, I remember there was a scene, Big Action Bill, I'm going to shout him out again, he mentioned this one scene in the trailer, and he's like, this almost seemed like a moment of pure devastation. He's like, and I don't know what's happening here. I don't know if this is the end of the movie, but it just seems like a very important moment, and it's so brief that I'm not sure what's happening. He said, but just from what I'm seeing, speculation before he's even saw the movie. But he wasn't wrong, because in that scene, that's where we get to see the first instance of Godzilla's atomic breath, like in full on land, and what it's capable of. So that just causes, big problem. And it's also within this where Noriko, being in Ginza, she is supposedly dead. We never see a body, but she supposedly dies in Ginza. So now Koichi is now stuck in the impossible situation of losing a woman that he loved, and he never told her. Even though he did. Now, I will say that prior to that day, he finally did admit to her his secret, if you will. And again, she didn't judge him for it. She's like, why should you feel guilt for not wanting to die? It's not about dying for your country or anything like that. You just didn't want to die, And I appreciated that. She didn't judge him for it. She tried to help make him feel better about it. So I think that just kind of compounded how much more this loss was for him, because they opened up to each other, or he at least opened up to her, admitted everything. She didn't judge him for it. He could have been, or they could have been, a couple, like a proper couple. He's getting over what he considers, he's still fighting the war. That's what he says several times. And so now he's stuck with the kid, and again, he doesn't feel like he's a father, but now he's kind of focused on his mission, because he thinks, I'm going to fucking kill this thing. I don't give a shit. So it's almost like the reason he needed to be a kamikaze pilot is now in him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he has something to live for. And that's one of the things that one of his buddies brings up to him, because when you see that kind of coming out of him, like they see that he's enraged, that he wants revenge. And his buddy, I'm going to look his name up real quick too, because he was probably one of my favorite characters in the movie by far. It was Yoji. He's an older gentleman. He's probably like the captain of the boat, I think he was, that they were on doing the mines and whatnot. And he told him point blank, he's like, you have a reason to live. Don't think you don't. He's like, what are you going to do? You're going to go kill yourself and leave this your daughter? Because they view it that way. Unlike what he does, that's his daughter. To them, He's like, you're just going to leave her fatherless? That's what you're going to do? After all the death and destruction, all these people in Tokyo, in Japan, have had to endure, and you're going to do this to someone else after all this. And it gets to you because you hear it. You're like, yes, what are you doing? This is not the time. And it's that message right there that they use toward the end of the film when everyone's kind of uniting. Is it's like, it's not about killing each other. Because there's a doctor character, Dr. Nato. He's another great character. I almost thought that I knew him from something, but I looked up his filmography, and I don't know him from anything, but he pretty much has a speech like right before they go into their big mission at the end, and he tells them point blank, he's like, we're not doing this to die. He's like, we're fighting this to live. He's like, we don't need to sacrifice more lives to make this happen. It's like, if anything, we're going to do, everyone who's participating in this, we're going to come back, and we're going to come back alive. That is the goal, not to die, but to live. And it resonates. It's like, why are people not thinking like this more often? Why is it we have to go into battle to die? Let's not think like that. So a lot of the messaging like that really just gets to you. The child, Kiko, like after she found out her mother, quote unquote mother, Noriko, passed, like, if you're not one to listen to a child cry, that's going to hit you hard. Because the moment she started crying, like it hit me, because I don't like hearing children cry. I just don't, because when you know that it's not like the crocodile tear things where like if I hear a kid crying for no good goddamn reason and I know it's fake, I'll be like,
but if you know there's that genuine sadness in it,
oh yeah, if I can sense that genuine heartbreak in them, I can't do it. I can't handle it. Even my oldest kid, if I see her cry, like there was an instance here recently, well, wasn't too recent, but there was an instance where she had a moment with her own daughter where she kind of missed a step, She had her daughter in her hands, she tripped and fell with her daughter in her arms, but she did it like her instincts kicked in like a mother and protected her. But when she got up, she was crying because she's like, oh my God, I could have hurt her and whatever, and was feeling guilty. And I was like, but you didn't. But watching my daughter cry broke my heart because I understood exactly where she was coming from. And I felt for her, So even that, to this day, I don't like seeing my kids cry, especially over some stuff like that. But anyway, not the point. From that point on, after he destroys Ginza, they start developing a plan. And this is another one of those scenes that I felt like it was very reminiscent of the original Gojira from 1954. Is Dr. Nato is talking about his plan, and it's similar in some ways. Like I thought, are they doing the oxygen destroyer idea again? Because his idea was to use the surface pressure of the water in the ocean to kill Godzilla. So there's he developed some sort of bubble system that would pretty much drag him to the bottom quickly. And if you've always heard that with surfacing and, when you're diving and everything, you got to go slow. Otherwise the pressure's going to fuck you up. So he's using that same concept. It's like you drop him at a, rapid rate to the bottom of the ocean. The pressure is going to crush him. And then as a plan B, they'll shoot him back up. And that
will make him explode.
will also then, So that's the plan, is to do something like that. And as he's describing this plan, the way the scene plays out feels very reminiscent of Dr. Yamane from Gojira explaining what Godzilla is to the masses, the Japanese government. They even pull the shades down and they show in these slides and everything. And I thought, this is that scene, just with this context instead, but it played out very much in the same way. So for me as a fan, knowing that movie pretty well and seeing that, I was like, oh, that's cool. Just seeing those parallels like that. But as they have their plan, obviously Koichi's still planning on his plan, which is to do the kamikaze bit. So what he does is he reaches out to the one survivor from Odo Island who they had a falling out pretty much because that guy was like, his name was Tichibana. And he pretty much told him point blank, you're a coward, you're a piece of shit. You killed these guys on the island because you didn't act, because you didn't shoot anybody. And he wants him to help repair this plane, which was not really used in the war, but it would be perfect for a kamikaze mission. So he doesn't tell anybody that that's his plan, but he brings him in to be that guy. He's like, I want you to set this up so I can bomb him, so I can do what I was meant to do. So they have an understanding. They try to get all that set up. And the final battle toward the end, they approach Godzilla, and he comes out of nowhere, stomping around some local area. Koichi lures him back out to the ocean because that was their concern, is that he was just going to go to landfall and they're not going to get him out in the ocean where they need him. But once they do, that's where everything just really gets into high gear, because you've got the Japanese government. That's the other thing they also point out. The Japanese government refused to help. They're just like, we got other shit we got to do. So essentially the people doing this are just the normal people.
They're on their own in it,
regular. Yeah, they're on their own. They said, but we're going to do this. It doesn't matter. If the Japanese government's not going to help, American government's not going to help, no one's going to help us, we're going to do it. And that adds to this whole situation where they're just like, we're going to survive. To hell with everyone else. I don't give a shit. We're going to survive. So you have that, and then you even have even more people kind of coming in toward the end to help and make this all. I mean, it's such a powerful thing how they make these characters. And I don't want to spoil a lot of this ending and where it goes and whatnot, but it'll go in a way that you're not expecting, because, and I love that too, because you aren't quite sure what's going to happen. And some movies are very predictable. You know exactly where they're going to go. You know exactly the paths they're going to take, and you can see it coming a mile away. But this one was one of those that I wasn't 100% sure where they were going to go with it. And I was pleasantly surprised, but by the way they ended it, I was really surprised in one aspect that I don't want to spoil as far as the ending goes, because it was just, I wasn't sure, but it felt right. Like this is what it needed to be. And if you didn't do it this way, then you're doing a disservice to other characters. So, I don't want to go deeper into that. I know I've kind of spoiled some things, but I've also left a few things on the table.
So you don't spoil things. I have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
One, I heard rumors that there was a post-credit scene. Was there any kind of post-credit scene that you know of?
Well, depends on what you consider post-credits. Because I didn't sit through the entire credits, but there was a stinger right before the credits rolled. Something that would be, like, I would have been surprised if they had stuck that at the end of the movie. So that might be what they're talking
about. Second question. This one's a little bit harder. Where does this Godzilla, not the movie, but this Godzilla, where does this Godzilla rank among your favorite Godzillas?
Well, that depends, because I feel like there are a lot of factors that kind of come into play on what makes a Godzilla a good, a ranker here. Do you like him being a good guy? Do you like being a bad guy? Do you like him being a force of nature?
Let's do it this way. As far as this Godzilla's temperament and just how vicious this Godzilla is, where do you think you would rank him?
I would definitely put him in my top three.
Okay.
I think, because I would say, and I know that Shin is kind of one of those divisive ones, but there's something about that design. I know it's jarring for a lot of people, but the dead-eyed look, the creepy way it just looks like this corpse, version of Godzilla, it's unnerving. You know what I mean? And with this one, he doesn't quite have that unnerving look that fits his vicious temperament, I feel like, but he's also more of an animal, because a lot of the things he does, like when Koichi was flying around his head with the plane trying to lure him, like it really made you kind of get tense, because he would fly so close to his mouth, and then Godzilla would be like he'd just snap at him real quick, like an animal would do, like a dog, and it's those little things like that where you're like, oh shit. So you get that vicious nature about how he reacts, because he reacts like an animal would. So you know that he can be pretty brutal, and he does not hold back any punches. There's not a moment where this Godzilla's like, should I do this? He's like, no, I'm gonna destroy everything.
Top three though, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, as far as the temperament of that particular one, I think so.
And then now there's something I'll say after this question. For the listeners out there, but the most important question: where would you rank this movie?
I I don't know if I can give it a proper ranking just yet, but I would definitely say it's in my top 5 because I want to be able to unpack it again. Like Shin, I'm using that one as a great example because it's fairly new. And that one, when I first watched it, I was just like, there was a lot going on. I watched it in Japanese at the theater, and the text was just all over the place. You know, you saw the Japanese writing, you saw the subtitles, and you were trying to keep up with everything, and it was like, what the fuck? You know, and there was just a lot going on. It added to the chaos of it all, which was kind of the point, but it was hard to kind of really get to understand everything that was going on. And that's a movie I've revisited several times, and every time I do, I almost feel like it's seeing it through different lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm seeing it, the first way one time, second time I'm really trying to soak it in, third time I came at it and I'm like, all right, now I have all this context. Now let me look at it.
Yeah.
And then now it changes my perspective again. So, I mean, that's one of my favorites, but I understand why it's divisive. This one I feel like is really going to hit a lot of top 5, top 3, if not number 1. I don't know if I could hold it at number 1 just yet, but if it does become my number 1 at some point, it wouldn't surprise me either, because there's just everything it does. It is done so well. It's kind of going back to what I said about the director. You found someone who had a passion for this character, but it's not his passion overall.
Yeah.
Almost kind of like, this is not a one-to-one comparison, but Christopher Nolan and Batman. You had a guy who maybe was a fan of the character in some capacity, but he wasn't like a huge fan, but he knew enough about the character. He's like, all right, so I'm going to take that character and I'm going to do one of my movies, but with Batman. And he did.
Yeah.
It's a very Christopher Nolan movie, but you have your Batman elements. It stays true to the character. With this movie, you had a guy who had done a World War II flick that was well respected in Japan. And he's like, I want to do a World War II epic, but with Godzilla. And you find a way, you understand the importance of it. Never once did I feel like the human characters or even Godzilla were not integral to the story. They were all always important to everything going on. Not a thing in that film felt like a subplot. Yeah. Now, sure, there may have been, I know there was at least one scene in there that when it happened, you understand what it was meant to convey. But at the same time, you're looking at that situation going, now, why didn't that character do this instead? That just seems like it would have made a little bit more sense in the context of everything. But okay, and you just kind of go with it. You question it, but it's a minor little gripe, in the grand scheme of things. And there were even some things at the end I don't even want to touch on because, like that post-credit scene, but there was even another scene like right before that almost felt like it was implying something, and depending on how the director, what his intention was, I feel like might do a disservice to the movie. So until I have that context, I feel like I can't quite properly give it that answer. Kind of like Halloween H2O. If I knew for a fact when his head got chopped off that was not Michael Myers, and I accepted that's not Michael Myers, that movie drops for me. Because I'm like, so you ended it with the man still getting away and we didn't know that he got away. You just watched her murder a person. But if you think, yes, that is Michael and that's how that was intended, he is dead, that end of story, it ranks up there. So without that context, without really knowing what his intention was by that one teeny tiny little scene, I'm kind of at a crossroads because I'm like, because it means one thing one way and means another thing another way, and it can change the purpose or the overall meaning of the film as a whole, I think. But that's just me.
The only thing I really want to say, I don't know if you have more, but the only thing I really want to say is if anybody out there is a little thrown off because they have to read subtitles for this movie, just go do it. It's not going to kill you to read subtitles. And who knows, maybe the movie will get dubbed eventually. But the big thing is, go show it some love at the theater. Like, that's the biggest thing.
Please.
And I feel like Godzilla needs to be seen on a big screen.
I will say this about when I saw it. Now, I know that they were advertising in IMAX, which I would love to go see. I didn't go see it in IMAX. But the theater that I was in was not crowded at all. In fact, it was so uncrowded that I wish my wife and I had moved seats because there was some guy with an annoying chip bag or something at one point, just crinkling it every so often. You're like, please stop. And it felt like it was right behind my head. I don't know what the hell he was eating. But the other thing, too, is holy shit, I wish at some point I had earplugs, because I felt like the sound was like way too loud. Like, that's the first time in a long time I've had that feeling at a theater. I think the very first time I ever had that experience was at the Phantom Menace, and I felt like we were sitting like right next to a speaker. So it was like every time something happened, you're like, oh God. But we were sitting in the middle of the auditorium. It's like we had everything directed at us. So the very first time Godzilla roared, I like my head jerked back like, oh fuck. And from that point on, it was just, there were times I was kind of reaching up to my ears going, it's loud.
Wow.
So if they could have turned it down just a hair, it would have been nice. But yeah, it rumbled the theater all right. Wow. So, and hopefully you don't get a bad theater with bad sound, because I don't want people to lose their eardrums over it, but the sound really did just kind of intensify everything. So definitely hope you can get a good experience out of it. And yeah, the subtitles are not hard to follow. You know, I know sometimes they move too fast in certain things where people like to kind of keep it, you know, snappy and whatnot, but it's not hard to follow. You can kind of keep up, no problem. I did anyway.
Well, like I said, I haven't seen it, so I don't really have much to say other than, just go show the movie some love. And I think a great poll question, we'll keep it real basic if you want. Maybe just ask people, do you like Godzilla?
Yeah. I mean, I know we got a lot of mutants out there that do. I mean, they were showing it a lot of love. And you know what? I'm even going to, not just the mutants in general, but just kaiju fans in general, I want to say thank you so much for being the best fans you can be, because not a goddamn person that I saw out of the awesome people that I have in my circles on Twitter and whatever other social media platform, not a one of you spoiled this movie. Not a one of you posted anything to be like, hey, look at this awesome thing from this movie. Everyone was very respectful and says, God, I want to talk about this with someone, but everyone's got to go see it. Please go see this movie. Don't spoil it. Just go see it. And I applaud you for it, because I know there's some trolls out there that have spoiled so many little details. And like I said, spoilers, when I say that, they're moments for me that I feel like you have to experience. Yeah. Like what I've said about Godzilla and his atomic breath. I don't want to even describe it. You just have to see it. Because when you do, you're just going to be like, what the fuck? Because I didn't see it happening in that way. Like, I didn't know what I was expecting, but it was not that. And I don't want to take that away from anybody. So go see it for yourself and experience it, the whole thing. So if you have seen Godzilla Minus One, let us know on X, Twitter, whatever the fuck it's called. If you've got more to say, send us an email at horrorramblings@gmail.com. We'd appreciate you doing so. We also appreciate all of our fans out there on Spotify who've helped us grow this year. We got our Spotify Wrapped stats, and we did a lot of growth, and highly appreciate everybody that's been there, been sharing the show wherever you've been doing it. So it's much appreciated out there. But you can join our Facebook group. You can join us on Discord to talk about horror. Find us on Instagram. If feeling generous, you can head on over to patreon.com/pencilpaperproductions. You can leave us a review or a 5-star rating on Spotify or whatever podcasting app you use, and take a look at whatever poll we posted up on Spotify. Like, do you like Godzilla? Or what did you think of Godzilla Minus One? Maybe that's what we posted down there. Let us know. And finally, if you have a central hub you want to keep up with, any and all things, pencilpaperproductions.com/horror-ramblings. Also, shop.fangoria.com/pencilpaperproductions if you want a 20% off discount at Fangoria. Code Pencil Paper Productions. All those links are down below.
And remember, guys, watch where you drop your nukes. We don't need any Godzillas. And stay spooky out there.
This has been the Horror Ramblings podcast. Join us next time for even more.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.